What if the lie you told to protect someone ended up destroying everyone? I was just a teenager when I discovered my father's darkest secret. But instead of speaking up, I lied. To my sister, to my mom, and to myself. This is the true story of how one secret shattered an entire family. My name is Ethan, and this is what happens when silence becomes betrayal. I used to think my dad was a hero, strong, honest, someone I wanted to become, until I saw him holding hands with another woman. And worse, I said nothing. I lied for him. I protected his secret. But now, that secret is tearing our family apart, and I don't know how to fix it. I never thought I'd be the reason my family started falling apart. It happened on a quiet Saturday. I was 17. My mom asked me to bring Dad his phone charger. He had left it at home again. He was supposed to be working late at his office, so I took the bus to drop it off. When I got there, the lights were on, but no one was at the front desk. I walked down the hallway, thinking I'd surprise him, and that's when I saw it. Through the slightly open door of the conference room. My father, sitting close to a woman who wasn't my mother. At first, I thought it was nothing. Maybe a work meeting, but then she laughed and touched his hand. He leaned in and kissed her, not just a friendly kiss. It was soft, familiar, romantic. I froze. The phone charger slipped from my hand and hit the floor. He looked up. His face went pale. "Ethan, wait," he called out. But I was already turning around and walking fast down the hall. I didn't stop until I was outside, heart racing, confused and angry. He caught up with me in the parking lot. "It's not what it looked like," he said, already out of breath. "It's complicated. Please, son, don't tell your mother. I'll fix it. Just give me time." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. That was the moment I made a decision that would haunt me. I chose to lie. I chose silence. And that silence would destroy everything. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. My dad, that woman, her hand on his lips on hers. I didn't know how to feel. Angry? Hurt? Confused? The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. Like we hadn't just shared the most uncomfortable secret a son could hold. He made breakfast, asked about my weekend plans. I barely answered. Mom didn't notice anything was off. She smiled at him, kissed his cheek. I watched her do it and felt sick. I had just seen him kissing someone else the day before. After she left for work, he came to my room and sat on the edge of my bed. "Thanks for not saying anything yesterday," he said softly. I stared at him. "Are you going to stop?" He looked down. "It's complicated." "That's not an answer," I said. My voice was shaking now. He sighed. "I didn't mean for this to happen. It just did. But it won't last. I just need some time. Please don't tell your mom. She doesn't deserve this. And neither do you." And I hated him for making me feel like the adult in that moment. But again, I nodded. I was too scared to blow up my family. Too scared to see what would happen if the truth came out. So, I lied. I smiled when Mom joked about Dad always working late. I covered when she asked why he wasn't answering his phone. I became part of his secret. But secrets don't sit quietly. They grow. And soon, the weight of what I was hiding started crushing me. It didn't take long before the lies became part of my daily routine. Every time Dad got a text and left the room to answer it, I looked down. Every time Mom asked me if I'd seen him or if I thought he was stressed lately, I changed the subject. I became the shield between the truth and her heart, and I hated it. One Sunday, while we were all having dinner together, his phone buzzed again. He grabbed it quickly, stood up, and said he had to take an urgent call from work. Mom rolled her eyes. "Even on Sundays?" she said. I forced a smile. "He's just busy. That project he told us about, it's a lot." She looked at me and nodded slowly. "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" I nodded again. Too fast. Too fake. After dinner, I went to my room and stared at myself in the mirror. I felt like a stranger in my own skin. The worst part? I still didn't tell her. I told myself I was protecting her, but deep down, I knew I was protecting him. He started depending on me, too. "Hey, Ethan," he whispered one night while we were watching television. "If your mom asks where I was yesterday, just say we went to the hardware store." I forgot to tell her I wasn't coming home right away. I wanted to scream at him, but I didn't. I nodded. Again, I was becoming the liar, the accomplice. And with every passing day, I felt smaller, I wasn't proud of the person I was becoming, but I was already in too deep, and I didn't know how to get out without bringing everything and everyone down with me. It was my older sister, Natalie, who first started picking at the truth. She had just come back from university for the weekend. We were in the living room, talking, when Dad came in, grabbed his keys, and left without saying where he was going. Mom was doing laundry. It was just the two of us. "Has he been like this a lot?" she asked, sipping her tea. "Like what?" "Leaving, acting weird, kinda distant." I shrugged. "He's busy with work." Natalie stared at me. "You're lying." My throat tightened. "What?" "No, I'm not." She leaned forward. "Ethan, I've known you since you were born. You have this twitch in your left eye when you lie. You just did it." I didn't say anything. "Look," she said, lowering her voice. "I don't know what's going on, but Mom's not stupid. She notices things. She just doesn't want to believe them yet. If there's something she needs to know, you better tell her before she finds out the hard way." I swallowed hard. There's nothing to tell. She didn't push. She just looked at me like she was disappointed, like she already knew. That night, I couldn't sleep. Natalie's words replayed in my head over and over. "You better tell her before she finds out the hard way." I started to realize that maybe this wasn't just about Dad's secret anymore. Maybe I was part of the problem now. Every lie I told made me feel heavier. I'd wake up every morning with a tightness in my chest. I'd sit at the breakfast table and pretend everything was fine while watching my mom hum softly as she made coffee. It made me sick. Not because she was doing anything wrong, but because I was lying right to her face. One morning she asked, "Do you think your dad is okay? He's been acting a little strange, like he's somewhere else all the time." I looked her in the eyes and said, "He's just tired, I think." She smiled. "I hope so." I nodded. But in my head, I screamed. Later that day, I walked into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. I looked tired, older even, like someone who had seen too much. I splashed cold water on my face and tried to breathe, but it felt like the walls were closing in. At school, I started zoning out in class. My grades dropped. Teachers asked if I was okay. Friends noticed I wasn't talking much. I just said I was tired. That word again. I wasn't tired. I was drowning. And every time I got a message from Dad that said, "Thanks for covering again," I felt like I had just dug my hole deeper. I started wondering if the truth ever came out. Would they only blame him? Or would they hate me too? It happened on a Wednesday night. Mom was looking for her car keys when she opened the small drawer near the front door. I was watching television on the couch when I heard her say, "What's this?" I turned and saw her holding a folded receipt. She stared at it, puzzled. I stood up quickly. "Everything okay?" "This receipt," she said slowly. "It's from that fancy seafood place, the one by the river, for 2 people, last Saturday." My heart dropped. I remembered Dad telling me he had a late meeting that day. He told Mom he ordered takeout on the way home. "I thought he said he worked that day," she mumbled. "Yeah," I said, trying not to sound panicked. "Maybe he grabbed food after the meeting?" She didn't look convinced. She folded the receipt and placed it back in the drawer. "Maybe." She walked into the kitchen without another word. I stood there, frozen, knowing that the cracks were starting to show. Later that night, I told Dad what happened. He cursed under his breath. "I thought I threw that out," he said. I didn't reply. I didn't even want to look at him. "You handled it well," he added. "Thanks, but I didn't feel proud. I felt disgusting." That night, I cried silently into my pillow, not just because I hated lying, but because I knew she was getting closer to the truth, and when it finally came out, it wouldn't just break her. It would break me too. Natalie came home again the next weekend, and I could tell from the moment she walked in she wasn't playing around anymore. She cornered me in the backyard while Mom was cooking inside. "I need to ask you something," she said. I nodded slowly. "Okay, are you covering for him?" she asked directly. "Is he cheating?" I looked at the ground. "Ethan." I stayed quiet. "That's all I need to know," she said, her voice flat. "The silence says everything." "Natalie, please don't tell Mom," I finally said, my voice cracking. She stared at me like she didn't even recognize me. "You already made that choice, Ethan. You already picked his side." I wanted to tell her it wasn't about sides, that I was scared, that I didn't want to be the one to hurt everyone, but the words didn't come out. She walked away. She didn't hug me. She didn't yell. She just left me standing there, alone. That night, I got a text from her. "I won't say anything, but you should." I stared at the message for hours. She was right. But I was still a coward. I didn't want to know her name. In fact, I tried everything I could to avoid thinking about her. But that changed one night when Dad left his work laptop open on the kitchen table. He went upstairs to take a shower. I just stood there, staring at the screen. His email was open, and at the very top was a message titled, "Dinner Friday night." It was from someone named Melanie. I didn't want to open it. I really didn't, but I did. The message was short and sweet. "Can't wait to see you again. Last weekend was unforgettable. Same place, same time." I stared at the screen, my stomach turning. She had a name. She had a face, too. There was a small profile picture next to her email. She looked normal, not like some evil villain in a movie. She was just a woman, smiling. That somehow made it worse. I shut the laptop and walked away. The next day, I couldn't even look at Dad. He asked if I wanted to go out for burgers. I said I had homework. He shrugged and left. I felt like screaming. He was still seeing her, still lying to Mom, still pretending everything was okay, and I was still helping him do it. Melanie. Her name echoed in my head all day. She didn't know me. She didn't know my mom. But she was a part of our lives now, whether she realized it or not. And the more I thought about her, the more I started to hate not just her, but myself. It was supposed to be just another dinner. Mom made spaghetti. Dad came home late, said he was stuck in traffic. I knew that was a lie. Natalie sat quietly, barely touching her food. Then it happened. Mom smiled and asked, "What did you do today, Ethan?" And I said it. I looked right into her eyes and said, "Dad took me to the hardware store. We were fixing the garden light." I don't know why I said it. Maybe because I was used to covering for him. Maybe because lying had become so easy. But when I looked at Natalie, I knew I had gone too far. She dropped her fork and stood up. "I can't do this," she said. "I'm done sitting at this table pretending like we're all okay." "What's that supposed to mean?" Mom asked, confused. Natalie looked right at Dad. "You tell her, or I will." The whole room went silent. Dad's eyes widened. "Natalie." But she walked out. Mom turned to me. "Ethan, what's going on?" I stared down at my plate. I couldn't answer. My mouth wouldn't open. I had lied again, right to her face. And this time I felt something break inside me. I wasn't protecting anyone anymore. I was just delaying the explosion, and it was coming. That night, everything finally came out. I was in my room when I heard shouting downstairs. I ran out and saw Natalie in the living room, standing face to face with Dad. "Tell her," she yelled. "Tell her about Melanie." Mom stood frozen, eyes wide. "Who's Melanie?" Dad's face turned white. "She's someone from work. Someone you've been dating behind Mom's back," Natalie snapped. Mom gasped. Her hand went to her mouth. I stood there, useless, feeling like a traitor. "You knew, didn't you?" she whispered, looking at me. "Both of you?" I nodded slowly. I'm sorry." That was the moment I saw my mom's heart break. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat down, slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her up anymore. "I gave you everything," she said to Dad. "I trusted you." He tried to speak, but she held up her hand. "Don't. Just don't." Then she looked at me. Her voice was soft, but full of pain. "And you, Ethan, you're my son. Why didn't you tell me?" I had no answer. I had chosen the lie, and now the truth had torn us apart. After the truth came out, our house felt like a funeral home. No one spoke much. No one laughed. The sound of forks on plates during dinner was the loudest thing in the room. Dad moved into the guest room. Mom barely looked at him. And me? I avoided everyone. The worst part was seeing Mom like that. Her eyes were puffy every morning. She tried to act like she was okay, but her smile never reached her eyes anymore. I had no answer. I had chosen the lie. And now the truth had torn us apart. She stopped making breakfast. She stopped humming in the kitchen. It was like something inside her had died. One night, I walked past her bedroom and heard her crying, softly, alone. And I knew I had helped cause that. I wanted to say sorry. I wanted to fix it. But what do you say when the damage has already been done? Natalie left for school early the next morning. Before she left, she looked at me and said, "You should have told her sooner." I nodded. "I don't hate you," she added. "But I can't forgive you yet either." That hurt more than I expected, because I didn't hate her. I hated me. A few days later, Dad knocked on my door. I didn't want to let him in, but I did. He looked tired, older, like the truth had aged him overnight. He sat on the edge of my bed, just like he had the first night this all began. "I messed up, Ethan," he said. "I know that." I stayed quiet. "I never meant for you to carry this. That was wrong of me." Still, I didn't speak. "You don't have to forgive me," he said, "but I need you to know I love you." I stared at the floor. "Then why did you make me lie?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he whispered, "Because I was weak, and I didn't want to lose everything." I finally looked at him. "Well, you lost it anyway." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I know." He got up and left the room. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just felt empty. Because even when people say sorry, it doesn't always fix what's broken. Mom called us into the living room that weekend. She sat on the couch with a stack of papers in her hand. Divorce papers. Dad looked down. "I've thought about it long enough," she said. "I deserve better. And I need space to heal." He nodded. He didn't fight. He didn't beg. "I'll be moving out next week," he said quietly. No one said anything for a long time. Then Mom turned to me. "Ethan, I'm not mad at you, but I need you to understand something. When you protect someone's lies, you help hurt the people you love." I nodded. My throat felt tight. "I know," I whispered. "I'm sorry." She touched my hand. "Just never do that again." The day he left was quiet. No yelling, no last-minute begging. Just a few boxes in the trunk of his car and a weak goodbye. He hugged me before he left. It felt strange. Forced. "Take care of your mom," he said. "She's stronger than she looks." Then he drove away. I watched from the window until his car turned the corner and disappeared. The silence afterward was louder than anything. For the first time, the house felt different. Not better, not worse, just changed. That night, Mom cried again. But this time, she let me sit beside her. And for the first time in weeks, she didn't cry alone. I tried to go back to normal life, but nothing felt normal. At school, I couldn't focus. I kept thinking about everything, how I lied, how I broke trust, how my family was now split. Even friends noticed. "Hey, are you okay?" they asked. I always said, "Yeah, just tired. Tired of lying. Tired of pretending. Tired of being the boy who helped break his own family." One day in class, my teacher said something that hit me hard. "Sometimes doing the right thing means doing the hard thing." I stared at that quote on the board for a long time. I wish I'd read that earlier. A month later, Natalie came home for the weekend. We hadn't spoken much since everything went down. She found me in the backyard and sat next to me on the porch steps. "I've been thinking about you," she said. "Yeah? You were just a kid, Ethan. Dad shouldn't have put you in that position." "I still lied," I said. She nodded. "You did. But you're also the one who lived with it. I know that couldn't have been easy." I looked at her. "Do you hate me?" "No," she said. "I'm just sad you had to grow up so fast." We sat there in silence, side by side. For the first time, I felt like maybe we'd be okay one day. It didn't happen overnight, but Mom started smiling again. She joined a local book club, started working out in the mornings, took up painting. One evening, I came home and found her humming again while cooking. It hit me harder than I expected. She was healing. She still hurt. I could see it sometimes when she looked at old photos. But she was fighting to move forward. And somehow, that gave me hope too. I realized that strength doesn't always look like being tough. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when you want to stay buried. I didn't know what else to do. I sat in my room and wrote a letter. It wasn't angry. It wasn't sweet. It was just honest. "You hurt us. You broke Mom. And you dragged me into something I never should have been part of." I lied because I didn't want to break the family. But the truth is, the family was already broken. I still don't know if I forgive you, but I hope one day I can. I didn't send it, not yet, but writing it helped. It made me feel like I was finally taking back my voice. I wrote her a letter too. This one, I gave her. "I'm sorry, not just for what I did, but for what I didn't do. I should have told you. I should have protected you. I love you more than anything, and I hope one day you can look at me without remembering what I helped hide." She read it quietly, then she hugged me, tight. And in that hug, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Forgiveness. I still think about everything that happened. About Dad, about the lies, about the day I saw something I wasn't supposed to see and stayed silent. If I could go back, I'd speak up, not to hurt anyone, but to protect the people I love from being hurt even worse. The truth is, lies don't just break trust. They break people. They change who you are. I'm not the same Ethan I was before, but maybe I'm a little wiser now. And if you're hiding something today, something that's eating at you, I hope you learn from me. Don't wait until everything falls apart. Because sometimes, silence is the loudest kind of betrayal. Some mistakes change the way you see the people you love. But hiding the truth? That changes the way you see yourself. If this story touched you, let us know in the comments below. Your voice matters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true confessions every day, only on Lies Regrets. Because every secret has its story, and sometimes the truth is the only way out.